another theatre with Scott Rogan. How are you, Scott?
Hey. Yeah, great, Michael.
Rogue Home Cinemas. Well, I walked in this room and it feels really big, but then you told me the size of it and I'm like going, hold on, we've got to talk about these small rooms and what you can achieve by them.
Yeah, it's surprising. This is sort of more or less 4 by 4 meters, or a touch under actually. And yeah, folks sort of really surprised by how much ambience and space it feels. And it's a dark room, which is all by the book as far as we're concerned with video and quality of spaciousness, psychoacoustically and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, usually you think light and bright means open and spacious, but when it's dark, it almost feels like infinity.
Yes.
And effect we weren't really expecting while applying these metrics to a room. So some happy surprises. Yeah.
One thing that struck me when I came in, I actually didn't realise we were actually going to show the screen lifting up and down, but you've actually used the front window of the house, because we're in the front of the house here.
That's it.
To actually block the window and create a projector screen.
Yeah, well, this room was sort of a little bit of a nook off the side of the entry of the little townhouse we've got here. So we've actually have 3 windows and an open space. So we've actually covered over 2 windows. We need to leave at least 1 for council regulation and for spouse acceptance factor, very important. We also, because it is an open plan room, the curtains open up and we do want some natural daylight. So there's always some compromises and some requirements into every room. So yeah, we've covered up what we can, we've curtained off another part, and then the screen can retract up and we've got nice natural light. So these, few behind the scenes happening here.
So a lot of people would say small room, big problems, and you've gone small room, actually no problems.
Yeah, look, I mean, this room's a challenge. As I say, it's sort of connected to an open plan space. So by adding the bulkhead in, it's given us a nice curtain rail partition. It visually breaks the 2 spaces apart. So we don't want the black ceiling mixing with the open plan living area ceiling, so the bulkhead allows for that. Yeah. And then obviously we're really focused on the seating positions and the acoustic layout. So yeah, we're going to have a few starting points as to orientation, the entry, what can we do, what can't we do, construction and lifestyle wise, before we then get into the nitty gritty of how we're actually going to make the room perform.
You mentioned then just about acoustics, and I'm sure a lot of people will be saying, how do you manage acoustics, because you've got power coming out, sound bouncing off everywhere. And I walked in here and you said you've got an open space with curtains, and then the rest of the room is enclosed in. Yeah. Do small rooms restrict the sound quality you can have, or not?
It can be managed. Right. It can definitely be managed, and one advantage to a small room is you can make a small room sound large. It's harder to get a large room to sound small though. So there's actually one thing going for us there. Though, yeah, we can manage the sound in the room to actually give us a huge amount of spaciousness, particularly with surround sound, even for music. We've got a number of speakers that can add all the cues of delay and echo and ambience through the space. So the room isn't required so much to create that, rather the soundtrack in the multi-channel format.
Because you were saying, and if you have a look behind us, you can see your dynamic wall, those I call it, the cityscape wall.
Yeah, the skylines. Yeah.
But it really adds to the sound. But you're saying, because of the way you've done this room, the actual soundtracks themselves add to the dynamics in the room.
Yeah, we've got stereo sound enters the system, and it's then separated and managed throughout the room, and it's uncanny actually, just how well it can position the dialogue there and position ambience back here. In the early days of Prologic, it was kind of, you're getting a little bit of this and that everywhere. Yeah. But now it's remarkable how they can actually, the processors can grab different sounds from a stereo mix, position them around the room. in this room, and a lot of our new designs even from overhead.
Yep.
And we've got this phenomenal, you know, rock concert sort of feel or orchestral feel from the stereo soundtrack. Yeah.
Now you're talking about the stereo and the speakers, and I walk in here and I go, well, I can't see any speakers, and I noticed some flat panels on the walls and flat panels everywhere. And I did ask you, you said, well, one of them is a speaker. But I'm going, small room. How do you get speakers with such terrific sound into these spaces?
Yeah, look, that is the biggest challenge, is the fact that we want, once we discover our seating position, we really, the speaker layout is fundamental to great sound. And we don't want to compromise because of a wall, a door, a window, or a big fat chunky speaker that simply doesn't fit where we need it to fit. So there are manufacturers that are very clever, and they're creating low profile. In fact, my front speakers here are only 100mm deep.
That's why I didn't realise the panels were speakers.
Yeah.
Because they actually just look like you put a sound acoustic panel on the wall.
True, right? So they're flushed in. We've already got the toe in we want, so the angle in on the speakers built into the side panels. We call them the wings. The side panels of a cinema system. There are stereo wings.
Right.
And they're towed in a little bit, and at 100mm deep, because we're quite, with a smaller room, we're sitting closer to the speakers.
I don't actually feel close to this screen though. I mean, you tell me a small. I'm off the back wall, so I'm not squashed against the back wall. I'm in quite very large, comfortable reclining chairs here. I don't feel like I'm sitting on top of the screen.
Yeah, so the screen is really as far back as we can go, and projector as far back as we can go. So there's a relationship between the lens and the size of screen and how far away that lens or the projector is. I would have loved to go bigger and wider, but I would have had to put a hole in the wall, come up with some excuse for building a garage outside. Wasn't going to happen, trust me. I looked at everything. I looked at different lens systems. The fact is, you just cannot break the optical zoom that far. You start destroying the picture. So, you know, no one's complaining in here. It's still a 2.3 meter wide, 2.4 meter wide image from only 3.2 meters away. So we're getting a good size scope.
So I think one of the qualities of this room that I picked up is that total immersion. You talk about your rooms allowing people to have an immersive experience. This one delivers. It packs a real punch.
Yeah, look, the you know, so you've got obviously the speakers in their place, the envelopment and the effects. That's why the speakers are, sorry, the seats are off the back wall, so we can actually get some sound effects behind us. If we're on a wall, no sound comes from a wall, so you need airspace for that. So that was really important. But then there's the bass, and the bass energy is obviously really adds up to about 30+% of the audio experience.
Wow!
So it's for what is a small range of sound, it is significant, and everyone notices great bass or bad bass or a lack of bass. You know, you can feel it. So we've actually positioned 2 subwoofers in here very strategically. So even though we're in a small room and the confines where the bass really wants to sort of struggle to produce, we've optimized that for our rower seating here.
Wow.
And we're getting, really good bass in this room. Most people are like, oh, wow, how have you done that? It's the sort of sound I think most people, enthusiasts out there, know it's possible, but they might not have had quite achieved it yet. It definitely comes with at least 2 subs, and it comes with positioning and some calibration of that.
Wow. So someone's got a small room and they want to have a theatre. I mean, this is absolutely gorgeous. It's sitting in here, and they want to have a theatre. Once you start your process, now I know you love your seating. That's your number one. Let's find out how many people we're going to see. But when it comes to the process, you've named a few challenges this room: multiple windows, spouses selfishly not letting you knock holes in walls. You know? I mean, that's terrible. What are some of the discussions that initially need to occur to create a room like this for everybody?
Yeah, well, certainly, like this room suits the 4 seats really well.
Yeah.
It's not going to do an extra row.
No.
Although there's enough space at the back there, should we need to do a prime time sporting event, we can shuffle these seats forward maybe 3 or 4 inches,
Yeah.
100 mil or so. Then we can get the bar stools back there.
I was going to say, put some bar stools there.
And we've doubled the seating capacity. So, but really it's about who's using this space often, every week.
Yeah.
And this room really based around 2 people, maybe 4. We do have to, you know, decide who our dinner list is going to be based on how many seats people can enjoy in the movie. So, you know, that's the limitation. But for most folks, it's more about a personal experience. So, but then for some families, it's really necessary to pack more seats in. So some rooms are going to be more flexible than others. So that is a big one. You know, council and building approvals. Can't just cover up all the windows and run with it.
I heard you mention this earlier on. I was going to get around to this. Council approves. When you said it, it kind of honestly threw me a little bit. I'm going, well, why do I need council?
It's my house. I can do what I want.
I'm inside.
Yeah.
You can't see what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's important. You really need 1 window per room, which is on a perimeter. Obviously, if it's a pantry in the middle of the house, no go. So, so we already had 3, and we can narrow that down to 1 at the end of the day.
Right.
Though we've also covered that with a screen, which rolls up and smash the window and escape if you know there's a monster at the other end of the house, whatever. You know, fire is probably the main reason for council concern.
Even though you've got a great big opening that just got curtains, but I could just step out of that opening.
Yeah. Yeah, well, true, but if you're cornered in, that opening is a no-go zone.
Right.
There's also a ventilation thing and sunlight thing and all these parameters that go into it. So, I haven't studied all the rules. No. Some clients get away in a new build with it being a storeroom or even a firearms room.
Right. Okay.
And they don't need windows for that. Okay. So in a new build, there's a few tactics on how you can get around no windows.
My 8x8 meter room is a firearms.
It's a firearms. Yeah. You might have a few more problems than good actually bringing that up. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you assist people with that? Do you make them aware and help them through that council process? How does that part of it work? Yeah,
we work with builders, which then also, based on their certifications, they can then refer us to architectural folks, or of course town planners. You bounce it off a town planner, they can guide you where you need to be. We didn't need to really do a lot of work in this space. As long as we had that 1 window, off we went. In some rooms we might cover the window with one of, say, the acoustic panels, which simply pops off like a photo frame.
Right.
So we've added no fixed construction over the window, which also kind of scoots us around any of those problems.
Fantastic. So we get around, so now we've sorted out the seating, we've sorted out, windows and some of those council requirements. Now what do you start looking at for the person in the room? What do you start looking at in the room?
Look, decor's a big one. You know, a dark room really is best, but not everyone likes that, and particularly a lot of people don't get it, not straight away. And we may in the end sort of going towards darker tones. I can tell you, everyone loves it.
Yeah.
It's just unusual. You think a dark room, oh, it's going to feel weird. But as you guys experienced today, you walked in and go, oh wow, this feels bigger than it really is.
It does actually feel bigger.
Yeah. Whereas the perception is, oh, if it's all dark, I'm going to feel closed in.
Yeah.
And it's actually a space that feels more comfortable, relaxing. It's sort of like our little, if we go back to Neanderthal area, what is that called? Caveman era.
Caveman era.
The little caves are a safe space. Open spaces were dangerous. So the human element actually really enjoys these spaces a lot. But you know, if there's some artwork, or you know, there's a current one where the curtains, they got to stay. The carpet, they have to stay. All right, cool. Let's work around that. Let's see what other colours and tones can work in with the room. Yeah.
Now, you say, because you deal a lot with established homes. I know you do a lot of new builds as well, which is absolutely fantastic. But the folks that have got the established home and the family home, and they're saying, okay, come in here. Are there data and electrical restrictions that you just need to be aware of when you start playing in this space?
Look, yeah, sometimes. I mean, some homes have got a good amount of data, pay TV cabling, Freeview cabling's already there.
Yeah.
Cool. Others, we need to upgrade that. And then, you know, power, most rooms will have a convenient enough power point, but we really like to run a dedicated 15 amp circuit to the main room.
Okay.
Even if we don't need that much draw, it automatically gives us a fresh separate line. It's not sharing the circuit with the lighting, the oven, the vacuum cleaner, whatever. Yeah, we like to keep those electrical noises away. So, you know, if it's a basement room under 2 or 3 stories, concrete block, then it's going to be a bit trickier getting the cabling there.
Yeah.
And with that, plumbing for aircon as well.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, there's another room we're looking at now, which is currently, has been used as an office. It's a pretty good sized room, about 4 by 5. With actually a little wet bar as well, which is a bonus,
right.
and a little nook in the entrance. Currently used as an office, sort of retiring, basement level of a nice big family home. What are we going to do with it? Great to go to cinema. And the challenge there as well, we're going to have potentially, we're actually going to look at putting the equipment in a storeroom and the projector even outside of that room in the garage. That's one wall we could put a hole in quite successfully and not upset. Yeah, box it in the other room. So we're actually going to do a good job of keeping the heat out of the room, but it's still a very still space. And you get yourself and a few grandkids in there. You want to cool it down, you want to recirculate the air. So a split aircon's great, and they are a bit tricky to wire up and get into the room. So there's a few challenges there.
You mentioned then it being a still room, and I've heard you talk about this before, that some rooms, I talk about taking echo out of the room, because in our studio we have echo issues all the time, and you're helping out with that, which is fantastic.
True.
But in this room you're going, no, I don't want it to be dead. So in some of these rooms, are they just too flat? Is the sound just completely flat and you have to do something with it?
I had an inquiry this week. The fellas sort of like, can you guide me on this? This is what I'm thinking of doing so far. And curtains all the way around with some foam stuff behind it.
Yeah.
And the thing is that a particular product will have an acoustic property, but it may affect a very narrow part of the spectrum. So there's our range of hearing, and it's really effective, like right here.
Okay.
So you put that all the way around the room, and what it's doing is actually taking a notch out of the natural spectrum of the sound, so it doesn't sound natural. So we actually want to control the reflections, but we want to do this in a balanced way, that if we're going to absorb some sound, we want to absorb a very broad range of the sound.
Right.
So it keeps balance and keeps true to its spectrum. If we just put carpet around the room, carpet might absorb it, I don't know, a high mid frequency.
Yeah.
Then all we've done is notched out that sound out of the entire soundtrack, which sounds a bit weird.
Yeah.
So we want to keep balance. So the type of material, the quantity of, the placement of that in the room, look, there's a science there. And I guess for us, we can sort of intuitively, where the art side comes in, work out how and where to put that, and it's got to look cool as well.
I know. I look at some of your paneling, and it looks cool. Even in this room, I mean, I know you go dark colours, but you've actually got some nice burgundy paneling, what I'd call the colour. Yeah. But you've stepped on it. It's like an art feature you've made of them.
Yeah, we've sort of kept it tall in the front of the room where the wall's quite exposed, and as it sort of goes up towards the lounge, it sort of steps up, so the lounge starts to take that space.
Yeah.
And then the last panel actually on that wall is hiding the speaker. And the speakers, even though it's slim, it's needed to pitch forward, so we need a certain depth on that last panel.
This is clever.
Yeah, and each panel actually sets down in depth as it goes towards the front of the room, and it sets a different height. So yeah, there's a lot of little, in fact that's the tricky part. I'm getting really good at, we've got a lot of calculators and things for our speaker placement and engineering, and I sort of like smash that in the first half of the day. And then I could spend like an hour or two just working out where the boxes on the wall should go. You know, I haven't done an interior design course before, so that bit's sometimes the most challenging, but it's got to look right and feel right, you know?
What I like about those boxes, just talking about your room, is I actually didn't realise it went different. And now you've mentioned it, now my eyes are looking going, oh, they do. But the cleverness of stepping up gradual increments of depth, you've actually just not put a big thick box at the end. So even though you haven't done an interior design course, your designs are very purposeful and very cleverly done.
Yeah, look, and look, I've been lucky to be in some beautiful homes over the years, so it sort of rubbed off on me. Worked with some amazing cabinet makers. When we had our showroom, big showroom, we had some beautiful fit out there, so it's really rubbed off, and yeah, we're trying to create that wow factor, that ambience and that comfort, and those little details really add up, definitely.
You know, the back wall, we've lit it up. We brought a light in so we can actually see some detail on this back wall here. And I call it the city skyscraper. But it has a very specific purpose, doesn't it? It just doesn't absorb sound and flatten it out. It does something else.
Yeah, because we've got the curtains, we've got some side control, the carpet, we've even got some overhead acoustic control. So we're at risk of certainly taking out too much sound, over-absorbing. So the back wall, we still don't want the back wall to reflect big, you know, waves of sound. So we've maintained the energy in the room by diffusing the sound.
Right.
So the sound will hit the back wall and it will scatter. But it'll add that ambience. It's a little bit like, this is actually probably the easiest way of putting it. So say you go to set up early at a trade show and you're in a massive hall. And there's you talking to someone, and there's maybe some carpenters, two carpenters at the other end of the hall, and they're talking. And because of the reflections of that space, you can't hardly hear each other talk.
Yeah.
It's like a brand new home, concrete and brick, and you're talking to the builder, and someone else is talking. It's like, oh my God, it's too much, right?
Yeah.
Yet when the trade show is full and you got 1,000 people in the room, you've got this ambience. This is what we call a diffuse sound field. There's a lot of energy in the room, yet it's randomized. And you can actually talk easier to your friend with 1,000 people in the room than just an empty room with 2 other people trying to talk.
Very interesting.
That sort of makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And it looks cool.
And look, 9 times out of 10 people absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And then a few people go, oh no, that's no good. So, really? but it's definitely a really cool feature. In fact, it's probably one of the biggest comments.
I mean, I've seen it on the roofs. You've done it in the roofs on some of the places, and the ceilings, which is really, really cool. Yours has got little figurines stepping off the blocks, or your Star Wars figures jumping off there.
You got to add a few little tweaks to it. Yeah, so it's neat.
Looks cool. So talking about tweaks, and you said that it came down to what people wanted to put in there. And you're saying about this guy's got a wet bar. You dress this up and you're using the space really cleverly there. How? It's a dark room. If people struggling with that concept, how do you personalise a dark room?
Yeah, we've got some art features which need to stay in a particular room. So that's going on the back wall.
Right.
And some folks are pretty neutral as well. They're like, no, they're for movies, so we don't need to add a lot. But then other folks are like, I've got to put the Terminator in and the Batman in.
Yeah.
So we do want to think of which areas in the space can allow for that. Like we've got a bit of space behind the seats here. So we've got the bass guitar. We've got some Star Wars figurines. It's also where I hide the steering wheel system for the PlayStation, which is pretty rad, I must admit. I wish I could spend more time playing it, but that's the way it rolls.
I'm shocked you're going, I haven't played this for days. I'm going, days?
No, weeks.
I go on weeks then.
Yeah. Like, how many games do you have? It's like, just one, just the racing game. That's all I'm interested in.
That's all you're interested in. Yeah. I've been in some of your places and you've got little bar areas set up, you've got popcorn machines happening. Can a small room still incorporate some of these really cool features, really like cinema type features, I call them?
Yeah, look, we can. So there's certainly some, like even some angles in this space where we can add potentially some features. We've actually used the entrance on the other side of the cinema for the Iron Man artwork. So you don't really see that from the open plan area. It's sort of nooked away, but it's an extension to the cinema room, even though at that part of the house it's light and bright again. So we've sort of tricked in a few extra features,
Wow. So someone, when they come, so you talk about the seating, you've talked about how you're going to hide the speakers, the use of windows, colouring, get it darker. Are there things that when you walk in, because we talked about the sound, now we've talked about projectors, but not really, and you talked about the challenges in this room. Now if I'm getting a projector and I've only got a short distance, I'm not you, but some people may say, well, is that going to compromise my picture because I haven't got the distance?
No, it's really, I mean, we want nice big cinematic screens ultimately. And look, in this room it would have been nice to go a bit wider. We just couldn't. So we've ended up with we've ended up with a 110-inch screen. So you know, you're crying for me, right? So and the HD quality is just everyone's pretty mind blowing. They're like, wow, I thought only a TV could do that. But you know, if we're not getting 100+ inches, then TVs do start to come into the picture because they're 85 inches are sort of possible. But you still want to be within about 2.5 meters from an 80-inch TV to get a cinematic feel.
Right.
Usually we're in a bigger room. This is about as small as most rooms would be. You know, 3.8, 3.9 meters square. It's not often we go smaller. So the projectors do lend themselves to giving us plenty of size and much bigger than a TV.
And the projector you've got is a super, we'll talk about that in a second, it's a super high quality projector.
Yeah, look, it is beauty. It's actually a special edition JVC. So
limited edition, so we bought one.
So there's 20 in the world made with these guys. So we were lucky with that. It's the highest contrast we've ever built. Contrast, the ability for the projector to actually turn off the light and produce black levels and not leak the light through. And JVC is super famous for that. So I'm pretty lucky to have this. I'm babysitting it for the moment, and I'm no doubt the special edition will end up in the client's home pretty soon.
So the size of it doesn't mean you I mean, this is a 2.4 meter wide screen. This, and I don't mean corner to corner on one of these angles.
It's the width,
the actual width. So this thing is big. So they don't have to compromise on that. What other important factors do you take into account when designing and giving someone a small space that'll deliver what they want?
Well, the other thing actually we've sort of skipped over a little bit is the equipment. Where's the equipment going to go?
Because
and there's
you
a fair bit of
it in here.
Yeah. So in this space we've had it under the screen, which is in a black fabric finish, so it really does sort of disappear. There's a relationship between the speakers and the bench top, reflecting off the bench top. Also the screen light as well. If we've got a surface just under or on top of, so the ceiling, same story. The light from the, we got so much light off these screens, they light up the room and they'll certainly light up any surfaces close to the screen. That's why I've sort of kept those left and right wings as flat as possible so they don't reflect. We've got the screen as far back as possible to maximize the lens distances to give everyone a better vantage point. So we've kept the bench top further from the screen as well, which has meant we've had to go a little bit lower, but we've got multiple racks inside our cabinet rack area. But then there's the sound issue. We now got speakers directly above a bench top, which isn't nice. It's a reflective surface. Well, usually that. In this room, the top level is actually a combination of MDF and acoustic material.
Right.
And in front of the speakers, we've actually drilled out the MDF, so the mid bass is effectively see-through. Like the sound will actually go through the cabinet space and actually absorb through the cabinet space. So the top bench top, as far as the speakers are concerned, are invisible.
Wow.
Pretty much invisible. So, and our data backs that up. We take measurements of each individual speaker. We actually can see what the sound is doing. And the response of these speakers are brilliant. It's like they're playing in a nice big open field where there's no boundaries and issues affecting them yet in this tiny space. So that innovation we're really, really excited about. This is actually the first project we've had to and do this, and therefore really invented it. Yeah.
Wow. Invented. And I think that's one of the things, whether it's a small, medium, large space, you customize it. It's like you invent new things to meet the challenges and deliver what the client wants.
Well, it's all about thinking outside the box. It really is, and that's where when we engage with a client with a MyMax Cinema design, it gives us the time, the hours to actually do that work for them. But do that in the 3D CAD space, the computer software. So all the ideas, the brainstorming, the bad ideas, the good ones, the measurements, the concepts, it's all done in that space, so we can really boil down to something really going to hit the nail on the head. Really, in the first presentation, it's not often we don't nail it, but of course with a bit of a review and a rehash, and some ideas need presenting to bounce off, but yeah, we really get down to it pretty quick. But you know, project takes some days of work on most of them.
To design it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And real focus. You know, I turn the phone off, put my grooves on, the music on, and I'm in that space for the half a day. Well, not the whole day. I do a half day session, have a breather, and go again. You know.
So talking about that process, what is the process from start to finish, and are there any inconveniences that the client goes through during that process? What's it like?
Pretty simple for them. A little bit harder for us, obviously. You know, we're doing the work for them. So there's obviously the first discovery meeting, working out, you know, what are our boundaries, what are the capabilities of the room, what needs to stay, what can go, what's flexible. Then, you know, we measure it up into the program. So we draw up the whole room into the 3D program. And then the work starts with the engineering now. We calculate the base response. Sometimes we measure the room itself, or rectangular rooms, we can actually predict acoustics, so we can apply that. Sets our seating, sets the speakers, it all sort of layers up. But you know, it's not a perfect workflow, because you know, you want the speakers there, but the screen needs to go there, and there's that reflection there. So you've got those building blocks, and you really have to sort of massage things into place. And we're trying to sneak every few millimeters. You may notice, like with our center channel here, you can just see over the center, perfect line of sight to the screen. These light, it was within 3 millimeters. Admittedly, if there was a kid in the room, we'd probably have to drop the sound down a bit. I can do that. I can pitch it down slightly.
Of course.
but for us in the seating position, we've squeezed where that center channel can go. We've got the screen as low as possible, because we almost like it a little bit lower, if anything. We've you know, everything's within millimeters. So there's a lot of negotiation going on there with engineering. And then of course we come out for presentation and, you know, see if people are loving it. Though we've now got VR, so our rooms in 3D get loaded into VR. Andrew, who's in my chief operations man, he's great. He's developing this for us, and we'll actually better see the new rooms in VR before we build it at presentation.
Unbelievable. That's absolutely fantastic. Someone looking at going, I've always wanted one of these, but I just thought it'd be too difficult. You take all that difficulty away. What's the best way of contacting yourself? I know you've got a few different things happening at the moment. You've got your Facebook and YouTube, and you're building some landing pages.
Yeah, indeed.
What's the best way at the moment to contact you?
I'd say Facebook's the way to roll. It's between a few web pages at the moment. So it's Rogue Home Cinema. Look that up. You'll find us on Facebook, and in there the various links to get in direct contact from us are evolving as our online digital footprint evolves as well.
Fantastic. And from where to go on, say, a small room like this, how long does it take from that initial discovery meeting to someone being able to sit here and go, I've got what I want?
Done and done. Yeah, look, it's for a renovation where it's painting, it's carpet, it's all these elements. It's really a good 2 months from let's get this thing going. It's sort of 2-3 weeks in design. And then yeah, sort of really 2-month process for fit out. Is what we got to expect there. Yeah,
Wonderful.
There's a little bit to it. And look, you said small room. The small rooms really take the same time as almost the bigger rooms. Everything just has to. It's almost. It really. This room's pretty complicated. It wasn't easy.
I was waiting for you to say actually the small rooms take a bit longer than the large rooms. Yeah, the complications.
This was tough. It was tough, and being that it's a demo space, it is our demo room here in WA.
Yeah, this is in Como, in Western Australia.
Como, yes, this is out of my own home space, and really fussed it. It's funny. I tried to sort of shortcut it. I'm like, oh yeah, we'll do this, and I had to run exactly the same process as everyone else. The whole process. We know what works, and this room was no different. There was no extra treatment or shortcuts or whatever, and it's taken. This was the B project amongst other projects. It's actually taken 3 months with us working on this one on the weekends or on the sideline to get it to this point. So I'm really happy we've got it cranking.
Fantastic. Have you got an email people could shoot you, Scott, if they want to come and have a look at the room?
Yeah, definitely. So we've got admin at roguehomecinema.com.au. You can hit us up there. Look, we do have appointment slots available. If people are even curious to see what a IMAX cinema is all about, does this little room really compare to IMAX? Well, come and check it out. You tell me.